Welcome to another episode of Gen CFB. Jessica Smetana here. Lucy's in her house in North Carolina. I'm here in New York City, the cradle of college football. And we're going to talk about some fun Week 4 games. But Lucy, I want to start with the game that you got to see in person. Number 6, Tennessee on the road, and number 15, Oklahoma. Probably, I don't know, game of the weekend. It was a good one. What did you think?
It played out pretty much exactly how I expected it to. Maybe a little more like Ope from Oklahoma than I initially intended. Their offense is anemic. It's really bad. I felt like I was watching an Iowa game for a while just at that game, except for just kidding. Our offense is great. So, yeah, it was one of those things where like Tennessee is just better across the board. Their defense is better. Their offense is better. Just they are a really, really good football team. Oklahoma has a stout defense. They're really, really good, but that offense is anemic. They had to bench Jackson Arnold, which they probably should have done earlier in that game. And I think they got to move forward with that freshman throughout the rest of the season. They have Auburn this week, which is kind of weird. Yeah, it was just like a weird game where like things were just odd. It didn't really feel like Tennessee was necessarily dominating them in the first half. Oklahoma turned the ball over and just like horrible, brutal. Our defense makes a great play. We fumble it back the very next play twice in that game. It was just like kind of like a welcome to the SEC for Oklahoma. And I think it just sort of established how good Tennessee is. And they are very, very good.
Are you a little worried about some tackle issues with Tennessee moving forward? Because I believe they lost both of their starting tackles in this game. The Oklahoma defense, I thought, played really, really well, like we said. But, you know, having to replace your quarterback before the half because the starter isn't doing so well, not the greatest. But I guess moving forward for Tennessee, are you worried about injuries? Are you worried about the offensive production against a really good defense? Like, what's your concern level for them?
I'm not too worried. I'm not crazy familiar with the injury situation. My whole thing with Tennessee is they don't have that difficult of a schedule. Now, I'm saying that knowing they have Georgia and Alabama remaining on their schedule, but outside of that, there's not a ton else there. And like if we're looking at the big 12-team playoff picture, you can afford losses to Georgia and Alabama. So like I think Tennessee's in a really good spot right now. I'm not too worried because Oklahoma does have a phenomenal defense, like a really, really good defense, and Tennessee was able to hold their own. So I'm not worried about Tennessee. I think they've proven they are a really, really good team, and like they did not play their best football against Oklahoma. So I expect them to keep improving. I think they're really good, and they have Alabama in, I believe, 3 or 4 weeks, and that's kind of when we'll have the true, like, how good is this Tennessee team really moment.
Yeah, it was a good win for them. They have a bye week now. And then, like you said, they play Alabama and Georgia this season. A lot of the conversation about Oklahoma coming out of this game has been the quarterback situation. Obviously, their quarterback last year went to Oregon. They could have held on to him, but they wanted to see how Jackson Arnold would be. And this is sort of a ongoing narrative thread throughout college football this season. It's really an anomaly to have multiple quarterbacks in your quarterback room like Texas has with a returning veteran and a 5-star prospect who's willing to wait for his turn. Although this year, of course, Arch Manning got his first start this past weekend because Quinn Ewers was hurt. But that is a pretty unusual situation. So a lot of teams are having to gamble. Like, do we let go of the veteran guy? Do we try to find someone in the portal? Do we think that our underclassman who is a highly recruited prospect will transfer if they're not going to start the season? And so I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Obviously, like the quarterback position is a pretty unique position in college football in terms of, there's only one starting per team most of the time. Some teams do have two. But I think it's probably hard for coaches to sort of like make those calls. And for Oklahoma, it doesn't seem like Jackson Arnold has worked out so far. Like you said, Michael Hawkins came in. Seems like they're pretty high on him. But Oklahoma maybe could have won this game with a little bit better quarterback play from the jump. So how do you think this goes moving forward for teams trying to like work on maintaining competitive quarterback play season to season?
I think you just have to be willing to make the change when it's right. And like I do think that Oklahoma did that against Tennessee. Now, even if Arnold hadn't started, I still think Oklahoma would have lost that game. I think that Tennessee is a much better football team than they are. And I feel like a lot of Oklahoma's issues in this game were very self-inflicted. I think it's just like as a coach understanding like, hey, sometimes I think the big thing that like actually stood out from what you're saying is you have to plan it out in the sense of like, are we willing to let this guy transfer if we don't play him? And so with Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold hasn't worked out, and he hasn't really worked out in the games previously to this too. Like Oklahoma has not been an offensive juggernaut at all this season. It's kind of wild just the way their head coaches have completely switched. I just think when you're making these quarterback decisions, like you just have to be willing to adjust, be willing to make the changes. And Kirk Ferentz, if you're listening right now, that was to you. I was saying that to you directly, just in case you're listening. I know he probably is, but that one was for you specifically.
Yeah, and Oklahoma, to be fair, they do have some injuries on the offense as well. So this season, we're recapping college football with Cheez-It, and we're feeling the cheesiest with Cheez-It, Lucy. We are on week 5, and we are feeling super cheesy. And now we're going to talk about, I think, the other really big game this weekend, Michigan and USC at the Big House. How much of this were you able to catch, and were you surprised by the result?
I was not able to watch a ton of this. I was very surprised by the result. I do feel like I called this, though, a little bit, not in the sense that I thought USC would win, but I came on Gen CFB last week and said Michigan should never throw the football again. They should only run the ball. And that's exactly what they did, and it worked. To only have 32 passing yards is bad. Crazy, but it's kind of one of those things where, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You have a great running back. You have a solid offensive line. You have a great defense. If you can't pass, just completely eliminate that from the playbook, and that's what happens. I would say that although, yes, they ran the ball incredibly well, the biggest takeaway I had from this game was USC's offensive line needs some work. Things are looking kind of rough there. I don't know how many times Miller Moss was sacked, but I know he was pressured 1,010,000,000 times and just could not have the time of day to get the ball out to his receivers. So what we know about Michigan coming into the season is true, which is they have an amazing defense. They can run the ball really well. And you might as well just do those two things and just not worry about the stuff that you're probably not going to figure out with Alex Orji or Davis Warren.
Yeah, like you might not win every game with this strategy because better defenses than USC's are going to be able to do a better job of shutting down your run game, but it certainly worked this past weekend. Lucy, we've accumulated several fun stats while we recap the rest of these games, so I'm going to give you one right now. Michigan had 32 total passing yards against USC, the last two teams to beat a ranked opponent throwing for 40 or less, Army and Navy. So Michigan among great company with the option schools. The Army game, they had 40 yards when they beat Air Force in 2023. Navy, 0 yards when they beat UCF in 2022. Of the 32 passing yards, which one was your favorite?
The 32 passing yard, number 6. Mine
was actually the 10th passing yard. It was a good yard. I enjoyed watching them get that one. I was a little surprised by this result, and I think Michigan fans were too. They were not expecting to win against USC after the Texas loss and after the quarterback change. I think they were surprised how well they ran it. But like you said, Michigan's defense is still really good. I mean, they were in Miller Moss's face the entire game, and I thought they did a tremendous job. But now we have to move on to an even more important game in the Big Ten. Illinois, they beat Nebraska in overtime Friday night. And now Nebraska falls to 8-31 in one-possession games since 2018. And Illinois has their second win over a ranked opponent, the first time that they've beaten two ranked opponents in the same season since 2007, Lucy. What a game.
I got a fun stat for you, too. So Nebraska in the last 10 years has played 8 overtime games. They have never scored a touchdown in any of those games, and I believe they've never accumulated a first down in any of those overtimes. They are so horrendously, historically, insanely bad in these close game situations. I genuinely believe it needs to be studied by science because it just is. It's mind-boggling to me how they continue to be so bad at this. Because when you look at teams that have close losses, normally there's a turning of the tide. We're like, oh, wow, they had a lot of close losses last season. The next year, they tend to win a lot more games because they're adjusting that. Nebraska just keeps losing these close games, and I genuinely don't know how it continues to happen in just the most mind-boggling, what-the-hell fashion.
That overtime series for Nebraska when they were on offense was hard to it was atrocious too, right? At one point,
it's so funny.
It was slow. It was bad. All the credit to Illinois. Their defense played really well in this game. Gave Dylan Raiola a really big difficult test. And I thought Illinois' offense, Luke Altmaier, they played really well too. So now they're going into a game against Penn State this weekend that is a lot more, I think, interesting for Penn State than we thought it would be going into the season. But yeah, Nebraska, tough loss. I mean, they were so close. And like you said, they can't win these games. Like I saw someone tweet a picture of Scott Frost and it was like, you can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea. And I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, it's just genuinely like, and I don't like Nebraska per se. They're a rival of my school, but like,
right, I'll
I watch those games. Yeah, I watch those games and I feel really bad for them.
Yeah.
I watched this game in a Chili's, which felt really right. Like just the perfect establishment to watch this game at. And like I was rooting for Illinois, but I was just sitting there being like, as much as I like think it's funny that Nebraska loses like this, like how like there should be therapist at the game. Like there should be mental health professionals hired by Nebraska so their fans can have someone to talk to after this just continuously happens and happens and happens again.
Speaking of needing a mental health provider, our friend Taylor, he had a rough weekend. He played football at North Carolina. They lost to James Madison 70-50. James Madison scored 53 points in the first half. And not only is this North Carolina's 8th loss as a double-digit favorite since 2019. It's the 4th time that they've lost by double digits as a double-digit favorite. And oh my God, was this a hilarious game to watch? There was so much just insanity happening. Mac Brown was like, I'm going to quit after the game. He was like, this is so bad, I might need to resign. Lucy, did you get to catch any of this one? Because it was the silliest game of the weekend, I think.
I caught a little bit of this one. I think that's something that like the general college football fan may not know is like the last few years you've heard of James Madison being a very dominant team, like a really good group of 5 program. They all transferred to Indiana. That's not these guys
right.
That beat
brand new
Carolina.
Head coach too.
Like James Madison, I believe, beat Gardner Webb by like a point, like a few weeks prior. Like not like the typical, just like juggernaut James Madison. Oh my God, they beat them 13-6. Sorry, not a point, but absolutely batshit crazy. And like I'm still kind of confused on the Mac Brown stuff. Like he quit and then he unquit, but I don't know how the unquitting necessarily happened. I think he just
Costanza'd it. He was like, I quit, and then he showed up Monday like nothing happened. I know there was like a lot of conflicting reports about what Taylor unfortunately can't talk to us right now because he's in the control room, but we'll get his statement on it. I will note, he did predict all of this. He said, watch North Carolina without a Drake May or a Sam Howell, and it's not going to be pretty. Trust me on that one, guys. And he was absolutely right because they really, really, really played bad in this game, Lucy. And like they made so many mistakes too. I actually walked into work today in the New York office and I ran into John Skipper, who's a Carolina guy. And he was like, now, Jessica, there comes a point in every North Carolina fan's life where you realize we are a basketball school. And that happened this weekend. And I was like, yep, that sounds about right. So that was my limited fake John Skipper. I hope you liked it.
Pretty good.
All right. Let's move on to... only a 9? Okay.
Yeah, John Skipper's from the town next to mine, so I know the accent really well.
Okay, well then I guess a 9's pretty good. So that's cool.
Yeah, really good.
Okay, Lucy, what do you want? We have like 10 minutes left. We could talk about Monmouth getting their first ever FBS win over FIU. We can talk about the Iron Skillet game, SMU and TCU. Sonny Dykes got ejected. We can talk about Utah at Oklahoma State. That was a big game. Or we can talk about the Colorado Baylor Hail Mary at the end of the game. I think
we've spent too much time not talking about Colorado Baylor, which is very weird for me to say. Normally, I would love to avoid talking Colorado football and honestly Baylor football at any possible time. Bad. Baylor is not good. Is Dave Aranda on the hot seat? It feels like he has to be, right?
Yeah, he's lost 15. Baylor's lost 15 of their last 20 games. And
is that bad?
That's pretty bad. They lost a lot. I think they were 3-9 last season. We have a video that someone shot in the Colorado student section. We're going to play that right now of the Hail Mary.
It's over. We lost.
was the defense, Lucy?
My favorite moment of this weekend was a Baylor beat reporter at Zach Smith gave a tweet or whatever that said, Baylor head coach Dave Aranda said the defensive play call on the final Hail Mary had a name, Victory Cigar.
Why would you
brother.
admit that? This is a bad look. Don't be talking about your Victory Cigar play call on the worst Hail Mary defense that I've seen in a long time. Just lie about it.
Like, if he wasn't on the hot seat, which he was, you said Victory Cigar and they lit your ass on fire. Why would you say that? Literally just lie. Just say no comment. Don't tell the truth. Absolutely bad shit, crazy.
Yeah. So anyways, a lot of good games this weekend. Utah, their defense is really good. Oklahoma State
Always
also
are.
having a quarterback issue. I mean, both of those teams actually having quarterback issues. I don't know what's going on with Ollie Gordon, Lucy. He has not rushed for over 50 yards in any game against an FBS opponent this season.
Absolutely crazy. I don't know what's going on. I haven't watched a ton of Oklahoma State football this year, but like Ollie Gordon coming into the season was the best running back in the entire country and like was an absolute monster last year. I don't know if teams have just learned how to like defend him or if Oklahoma State just like, I don't know if their offensive line is having issues. No clue what's going on there, but like genuinely no excuse. He's so good that he should have 150 yards every game, at least 1,000,000 yards every game, at least.
Yeah, he hasn't looked great. And Kansas State lost to BYU. Missouri almost lost to Vanderbilt, went to overtime. But we have to move on now to a little preview of what's to come in week 5, and we'll be right back with that.
Now, this week 5 preview, I can't believe it's already week 5. That's crazy to say.
The season's like a quarter of the way over.
That's insane. I don't know why it feels much shorter. Okay, but this week 5 preview is brought to you by Hampton Farms. Get nutty with Hampton Farms peanuts, the official snack nut of the tailgate. Now, we do have to do one quick, just little honorable mention before we go into our week 5 preview. So we just mentioned Kansas State lost to BYU. They didn't even lose to BYU. They got absolutely destroyed by BYU. And there was a Kansas State fan that tweeted he would shove a Taco Bell burrito up his if Kansas State lost to BYU. And unlike Florida State guy, he is a man of his word. He has been live tweeting through it all. And I believe this Saturday, he will be putting the burrito up his butt.
And BYU tweeted Liv Moss after they won.
They were so good. So good.
Lucy, I'm not going to lie. This is the part of college football where I'm not sure. I'm happy for other people that are paying attention to paying off of bets that involve horrifyingly disturbing bodily things. I'm not one of them. So you guys have fun watching that. I'm going to be over here watching something else.
Look, I'll probably watch. I got to be honest. I probably will. And I'm not proud of it, but I'll do it. And I'm doing it for the show. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for you all. I'm taking one for the team. But I do appreciate this guy. He's standing to what he said. And like, you know, you have to have some respect for that. I mean, less respect because you're shoving Taco Bell up your butt, but still a little respect, I guess.
I mean, respect for the people that want to see him pay off a promise that he made. Lucy, I'll make you a promise. If Notre Dame beats Louisville this weekend, I promise I will go to Flanagan's and do the buy a pitcher, get 6 wings for free deal next Wednesday. All right. I'll make that promise to you right now. I'll go get myself some wings if they lose. I'm going to be at that game.
I thought you said if they win.
Oh, I meant if they lose.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh no.
Oh, no.
Here. Okay. Man. Either way, I'm going to go to Flanagan's.
So brave.
Thank you. Braver than the troops. I'll be at the Notre Dame Louisville game this weekend. It's going to be on Peacock. Louisville, they're fun. Their offense, not bad. I'm intrigued by them.
Yeah, Jeff Brom always has a really good offense. Louisville, and I'm always saying that wrong, and everyone gets so mad at me. I'm sorry. Just pick one pronunciation and stick with it, and then just let me know, Louisville fans. I think what's like weird about Louisville to me is I don't think they've played anybody. I like not even close to anybody. No idea what we're getting there. Still big giant question mark, which at week 5, I feel like I should kind of know a little bit better, but this will sort of be like, is Louisville good or not?
Yeah, Notre Dame, keep an eye on Notre Dame's passing attack. That Riley Leonard's been really good running the ball. He is a fantastic running quarterback. Their passing attack coming from issues Notre Dame even had last year with the pass game It struggled. He only has one passing touchdown this season, but Notre Dame's coming off of 2 blowouts. They beat Purdue and Miami, Ohio after that horrible Northern Illinois loss. But, Notre Dame in Louisville. It's going to be a good one on Peacock. And then the game of the weekend, I think, Lucy, it's fair to say, Georgia at Alabama, 7:30 on ABC. Are you going to be at this game? You don't know yet?
I have no idea.
Well, they're both coming off a bye week. Georgia has had a little bit, I think, of a bigger test so far this season when they played Clemson. So we know that Georgia can score against a good defense. Alabama so far has had a little bit of an easier path to get to this game, but they've been really fun to watch. Obviously, Jalen Milroe, he is an electric quarterback. Their freshman wide receiver, Ryan Williams, he's only 17 years old. He already has 4 touchdowns this season. And Georgia hasn't beaten Alabama in the regular season, Lucy, since 2007.
Whoa.
So this is going to be a huge game for Kirby Smart to prove that he can beat Alabama. Although, of course, if Georgia wins, they're going to be like, asterisk, it wasn't Nick Saban, because Nick Saban has owned this series. I think 5 out of the last 6 wins Alabama has won, including 3 SEC championship games and, of course, the national championship. So this is a fun one for fans of college football. I don't know who to pick in this one because it's at Alabama. Because my gut's telling me Georgia, but I could kind of see Alabama pulling it off too.
Oh, I'm not betting this game. I'm not touching this game from just a preview standpoint. Genuinely no idea. These are 2 of the most talented teams in the country, if not the most talented teams in the country. It is in Tuscaloosa, but I'm curious if there's like a little bad blood because Georgia probably would have won the national championship last year had they not lost to Alabama in the SEC championship game. So like there's just so many narratives and things going on. This is Kalen DeBoer's first really big game as head coach of Alabama. I have no clue who's going to win. I don't even care to guess who's going to win. I just know this is going to be an awesome football game. And I think we can all agree that if the winner of this game goes on to win the national championship, no one would be surprised.
Yeah, Georgia's a road favorite right now, 2 points as of the recording of this podcast, Lucy. These are 2 of the teams that I always say, I don't care who they're playing, where they're playing, who they're playing against. I'm not picking them to lose, except for when they play each other, and then I always pick Nick Saban. And so far, that's served me well. But Kalen DeBoer, now he is the head coach, and I am really excited to watch this and see how Georgia does against a new head coach at Alabama, but still a very well-oiled machine. We also have this weekend Virginia Tech playing at Miami. Miami's finally getting into their ACC play. We have Washington at Rutgers, which is a classic Big Ten matchup on Friday night. Can't wait to watch that. And we have a couple other big games, like we mentioned, Illinois at Penn State, Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Kansas State losing that game, making some guy shove a burrito up his butt. We'll see if they rebound. Oklahoma State, too. I feel like they're just not, I don't know. They're just not very good. The Big 12 is making me very confused this year. I kind of think Utah might just run away with it, even though they don't have a great quarterback situation right now.
Yeah, they're like the reincarnated Pac-12, where half the Pac-12 teams came over and then they all just were like, yeah, we're just going to keep beating the shit out of each other so nobody gets to be good.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, it should be a fun weekend, Lucy. Anything else before we go?
No. Wait, yes. Quick aside. A few weeks ago, we went to the Iowa State game and we got to interview my brother and some of his friends. His friend Noah was diagnosed with leukemia a few days after that game the video aired in that game. You can see him in the video. We are raising money from him. So if you want to go to my Twitter, there's a link to donate to Noah as he battles leukemia.